Batman 52. We're continuing this court case, this 12 Angry Men style with Batman, and we get glimpses of the hunt for Mr. Freeze from before, sort of sprinkled throughout as they're having the debates. But a lot of it is the debates of the jury talking to Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne kind of laying out, okay, we have these three facts, and we're going to talk about these three facts, and is there doubt with any of these facts? And he kind of like offers up alternate ideas for each one. But the beauty of this issue is that ultimately what he's arguing with is that everyone there's like, well, Batman did it, and Batman's good at what he does. He's better than the police. We trust Batman. So the irony here is that he's sitting there trying to say, no, I think Batman made a mistake, because he feels like he made a mistake.
Yeah.
And he's trying to argue
so. It would be jury tampering if he was doing the opposite, if everybody was against him. But because he's Batman secretly, he's going, oh, no. Batman's good. Let me explain why. The fact that he's doing the opposite, that he's arguing against himself.
Yeah.
A, that's creative on Tom King's part. And B, Bruce Wayne saying how bad Batman actually is. It's like Tom King heard what I said about I Am Suicide and was like, I'm going to win him back.
Well, what I love about it is that we get this idea that he was like this with Mr. Freeze because he was angry about the wedding. He's not in a great place, and this has like been his wake up call where he's like realizing he's made mistakes. He's realizing that he missed something. The big thing being that he missed that probably someone tampered with the bodies after the police inspected them before he did, and that's why they were colder, and that's why he was framing Mr. Freeze.
I love Tom King for telling so many different kinds of Batman stories in this 52 issues so far. Like, you can look at his run, and overall his run is this deconstruction of Batman and the mythos around him. But each arc's been unique. Like,
oh yeah,
you can't say like the first arc, which was I Am Gotham, was anything like this whatsoever, and I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, it's part of me feels like I'd like to get more of what I thought I was getting. When the book started, okay, first arc, this is what the book is. I'd like a bit more of that. I'd like to see some follow up to that stuff, and I feel like okay.
I think it's coming. I mean, you look at some of the other books, and you have the inclusion of Duke again after Duke was kind of an afterthought. Like he was super included in those first couple arcs, and then he hasn't anywhere to be seen. And then he shows back up in Tech. He's mentioned in Deathstroke later.
He did have his mini, to be fair.
Yeah, but did any of us finish that?
No.
Okay, there you go. So I definitely feel like he's working his way back. Like I feel like King had a mission, and then as he was writing, it started to become its own thing, and he's just adapted to it. So like, I got into an argument with a friend last week because he didn't like war jokes and riddles, but he couldn't say exactly why. But I love that story. But the fact that we can both like look at it in different ways too. I think that's important, because I felt like with Snyder's run, it was either you really really loved it or you didn't, right? Like there was really no in between, and I feel here with King it's the opposite. I feel there's these really high points, and there's other people that's like, yeah, it was fine, I guess.
I feel like he keeps doing very different things, but it all feels like tied to the same sort of canvas of like this big tapestry he's doing.
I think it's because everything's so different. It feels maybe inconsistent to some, like because you might be really into one arc and what he's doing there, but another arc, it's not really my thing, right?
Well, yeah, you have this. So this is one of my favorite arcs so far that he's done. But the Poison Ivy one, I was glad when it was over, because that was just way out there and whatnot. And so here he decides to like slow it down and almost tell an anti-Batman story, to where it's more about Bruce Wayne than it is about Batman. Like we're getting Batman as a secondary character, and he hasn't really done that this run.
Yeah, I like that he keeps changing things up. I think I've never felt betrayed that he's not stuck to what that first arc was, because I think the first arc's one of the weaker ones of the book. Like I think it's gotten better since then. So I'm glad that he's been doing really different things.
I think no, I agree with that to a point. I think there's a point where it's too many different things, maybe, and it's okay, every arc something different, and it's okay to return to styles and ideas and come back to these things that we did before.
Yeah, but see, I feel like we're Snyder, and I keep having to compare it because that was the most recent.
Yeah,
guy that worked on Batman, right? His was very much a straight line, whereas I feel like that King's not that it's all over the place, but he's almost weaving a tapestry with all these different threads. And by the time it's over, I think we'll have this big, huge picture. And unlike Snyder's, which really didn't change the nature of Batman, I feel like King's will.
It feels that way. It feels that way to me, at least. I like this exploration. I feel like every single arc has explored Batman in a different way, and sometimes it's been more successful than others. But I think you can clearly see what the attempt has been in each one. They may not always hit, but I think you can always look at his arcs and respect what he's trying to do with Batman. That feels a bit different than normal. That feels a bit different to what you're used to seeing. And yeah, some of them didn't pan out as well. The Poison Ivy one, I think, is generally agreed upon on this show as the low point of the run. Obviously, we differ opinions a little bit more when it comes to like I Am Suicide, because I like that quite a bit. But you know, I think ultimately, is there too many like different like is it too many different styles and whatever? I think that's just down to taste. Like you either like that he's doing lots of different things, or you'd rather it be more consistent with its tone and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's just it can be frustrating when he does one that you really like and you want more of that, and then you're getting something else. You're not getting that again. It can feel a little frustrating.
Yeah. I'm digging this arc a lot, and I like the questions that have been brought up here. And Bruce like having to argue against Batman and getting frustrated that he's basically created something where the public just don't challenge it anymore. And while he's glad that the public support him, I think no, he wants them to challenge him. He doesn't want them just to accept this, because in many ways Gotham got so corrupt because it got to a point where the people just didn't challenge anything. He wants them to challenge Batman. He wants them to keep Batman honest and on his toes. And
do you know what I think the reason this makes Matt so happy?
Yes.
It's because Bruce is going, stop saying because Batman.
That's exactly what it is. I was just getting to that point. Yeah. And there's a panel, there's a page, it takes up the whole thing, and it's Bruce's conversation with one of the other jurors. And he's like, well, I moved from Metropolis, and this type of stuff doesn't happen in Metropolis. This stuff only happens in Gotham. And I think that goes to Pete's point. Like, the people of Gotham have just learned to accept it. And then there's another story with the mom, and her son was getting bullied, so he went and got a gun. And she made him turn the gun into the police, and the police like, no, this is Gotham. You keep the gun. Like, it's just the society, and it's almost kind of like Batman's allowed this society to flourish because everyone just trusts in him to do his job, versus like trying to hold Batman accountable. And I really like that.
Yeah, it's great stuff. And obviously the art's fantastic from Weeks. Some of the full page spreads of him fighting Mr. Freeze. The title page specifically, Mr. Freeze running down an alleyway, I think especially looks gorgeous.
I think I love Lee Weeks, but I think the real hero here is Elizabeth Breitweiser on the colours.
God damn it, you guys keep beating me to my points, because
I think she's probably the second best colorist working right now, in my opinion.
Who's first?
Matt Wilson.
Okay.
But this is just phenomenal coloring work.
So because I'm so familiar with her work with Brubaker, and Phillips, this made it feel like a Brubaker and Phillips. I don't know if that's what King's going for, but it's very much like, it's very talky because it's Bruce and the jurors having discussions with these breaks of action where we get what Batman was up to with Freeze.
Yeah.
And it feels like one of those dingy noir books. So I don't know if that's why I'm enjoying it as well. And then Brett Weiser is just the capstone on that.
It is. I think one of my favorite pages art-wise is it's that page about the story with the gun. And it's all like really muted colors. It's like whites and a little pale blues, and it's Batman on top of Freeze. He's shooting the gun up, and it just looks incredible.
Yeah. So the book basically ends with just like they've heard these arguments and like, hey, you're asking us to take all this on, but you've not actually proven anything. Like we have doubt in everything you've said. So what you're saying is Batman is not the hero that Gotham thinks he is. Can you prove that? And the book ends with him saying, yes, I can prove that. How he's going to prove that, I'm looking forward to seeing. But yeah. But again, it all comes down to he has to prove that Batman's is not as good as they think he is. Yeah, he has to almost like tarnish the image of the Batman a little bit. And there
was one thing I thought that was almost a missing beat that I would have liked to see is when he's like, no, we've got to stay and talk this out, and everyone calls him. It's like, yeah, but you're rich. You don't have to go. You're not missing a day's wages, for doing this. I almost feel like he should have like offered. It's like, look, fine, all right, I'll pay for whatever you're missing, but we talk this out.
Yeah.
Like just that extra beat, just to really sell how he is actually invested in this. He's not just making a front, which they probably think at that point.
I mean, he could probably do that at the end. He just didn't want them to have the incentive beforehand, if that makes sense. Like he wanted them to choose to do it out of their.
But
of
I mean,
of their duty.
is it an incentive? Because all he's doing is covering what they would have missed. They're not. He's not giving them anything extra.
Well, that's assuming that he does exactly what you said. I mean, for all we know, at the end of this,
Yeah.
you might turn around and say, "Hey, I'll give you all a 50 grand bonus for sticking around."
Maybe.
Yeah, but then again, I don't think he can do that because of the jury system. Like, because then again, that's jury tampering. From within.
Well, no, if he doesn't give it to them afterwards. That's what I'm saying. He doesn't tell them before.
Right.
If after this he says, "Hey, let's all meet and I'll give you some cash. I won't even need your names. Just we can meet in a place and I'll give you some cold hard cash next week."
And I don't think it would be jury tampering in what I was in, because he's not paying them to change their opinion. He's just paying them to stick in debate.
Right, but I'm just saying if it got back to the prosecutors. or
Yeah, I
whatever,
feel like the lawyers might have a field day with that.
Yeah.
Even if we can justify it ourselves, I feel like the lawyers would
I mean,
go nuts.
just the fact that he's such a pillar of society, it's weird that they would have put him on the jury anyways.
Yeah.
Like him getting called for jury duty and showing up is different than sitting on the jury, especially because this case was about Batman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if he's looked on as the benefactor to Batman, like some people suspect.
No, I think that is a little weird, because he has publicly got relationship with Batman, right? And it was with in the last issue where they're like, yeah, we no reason why this jury can't be used. Everyone's fine.
Right.
Maybe that should have been addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, I'm digging it a lot. So let's rate Batman 52 out of 10 then. Connor.
Yeah, it's pretty solid, but the art raised up because I just love it, so that'll be give it an 8.
Matt.
Yep, along with Connor says, but I liked it a little bit more than he did. 8.5.
I will concur with that 8.5. It's very, very good.